Welcome to this edition of Auto Insiders with me, Ray Shefska, and to borrow a line from David Letterman, my next guest needs no introduction. This is Brandon from Car Questions Answered, and well, everybody on the damn internet knows who Brandon is. Brandon, how are you today?
I am great. Thank you so much for letting me come on here. I can tell you that of all the stuff that we do on YouTube, this is my favorite thing. Just being able to talk to other people that have some background knowledge of the industry, and I always learn something. So this is by far my favorite thing that we do.
Well, I don't want to ruin it for you, but we're probably not going to talk much about cars today.
That's even better because you know what? I'm getting kind of tired of it, honestly.
Yeah, me too. But I do have a question for you. You are, I believe, in comparison to me, a very young man. I don't know how old you are. I'm going to guess early 30s,
I am 35 years old.
mid 30s.
Yep.
Um, and I believe you're from the South.
I am from North Carolina, so
Okay.
close, right? Yeah, I'm sound very southern. I am definitely from the South.
Now, when you were growing up, did you just like one day say to yourself, gosh darn, I think I want to sell cars for the rest of my life?
No, I kind of actually fell into it. So my grandfather has always had a car lot. I think he's I I can't even remember. It's been 50 plus years that he was actually in the car industry,
Hmm.
and I was planning on being an engineer. So I was going to school for engineering, and
Okay.
then I hated college, hated everything about it. Just anyone tells me what I have to do, I completely just want to rebel against it. So I'm not a good student. I was fine with tests and stuff like that. I could always do that, but I didn't want to be there, and I was miserable. So I don't even remember what got me going with my grandfather, but he would go to auctions every week, and there was like a Wednesday night auction, small little country auction that would run maybe, I mean, 60 to 80 cars a week. And for whatever reason, I just said, you know what? I don't have anything to do tonight. Let me just go. And went the first time, caught the bug, love the atmosphere, love being around the cars. And to to be honest with you, I know I have this car channel, I have a car lot, I've been a car dealer for 12 years now. Um, I'm not really a car guy. I don't care. I don't care about I can appreciate a beautiful piece of engineering, appreciate the lines or whatever, but I don't have to have one of these supercars. That doesn't drive me.
Well,
Um,
let,
Go ahead.
let me ask you this because you say, you know, I'm not really a car guy. In your mind, before you, what is your definition in your mind of what a car guy is? And the only reason I ask is, as you know, I spent 43 years in retail automotive, and I'll be the first to tell you I'm not a car guy either. I hate
Right.
them. Um, so, what in your mind's eye, what is your definition of a car guy?
So I definitely say I don't hate cars. Like I won't definitely won't use that word. But I just like they don't like if I see a nice sports cars like Ferrari is sitting on the road, Lamborghini, whatever. It's like oh, cool, yeah, yes, that's nice. But I'm just not. I'm not drooling over it. I'm not. I see a lot of these other car dealers that are on YouTube, and they'll walk past one of these cars, and they have to film it. They have to go around it. There's these car spotters. So I guess what I would say, going back to your question, what a car guy actually is someone that like they have to be around that car. They have to go touch it. They they have to talk about this car when they see it. And I can walk right past it at an auction, something that's super nice, and I don't care.
So if I hear you correctly, a car guy is somebody that just goes gaga over whatever they perceive to be special, and somebody like you is the car is a means to an end.
Right. My
It, it
my
it's a way to make a living.
Yeah, my thing is I'm in love with the business. I'm in love with the market. I'm in love with the economics behind it. I'm in love with building the business that we built, the team, everything that's surrounded. And I don't know if I went to a different industry, if I would still have the same love for the market. Like say if I went to real estate or something like that, I don't know that I would have that same kind of love. So maybe there is this tie to cars because it is kind of ingrained with into me because of my grandfather, that I can appreciate the cars, and I know it's part of my life, right? But I don't know if that will carry over anywhere else. So that's something that I might have to explore in the future to see if maybe I am a closet car guy. Maybe I am.
Oh my God. Well, if you determine that you are, please let us know so you can appear on this broadcast when you decide to come out of the closet.
Right. Then we'll have to name the show something different, I think.
Well, and we could for one day. I don't mind. You know me. I'm pretty amenable. I'm pretty easy. You said that you were going to school for engineering. And the problem with school is you couldn't stand the fact that somebody would tell you what you had to do.
Right.
Um, where do you think that started?
Probably when I was born, I guess. I think that's probably a gene that a lot of people have, and I hear this from a lot of entrepreneurs. So I have I mean, I'm never going to work for someone else ever in my life. I stopped doing that when I was 22, 23 years old, and I would make the absolute worst employee because I know how to do it better than you do.
Mhm.
Talking to like a boss that would have, if I'm working for another company, I would find some, why are we doing this like this? This is an obvious thing, and I would not be able to shut my mouth about it. So I can't work for somebody else, and I feel like because of that, and because of the drive that I have to do things on my own, to build things on my own, that's where a lot of my business building skills have come from. Just out of, I won't say desperation of not wanting to have to answer to somebody, but I guess it's just the push to want to build something and do something that I can put my name on. I feel like Zach has a lot of that same kind of drive that I'm talking about.
He does. He does. But do you think you could work for somebody if they said to you, "Run it how you want to run it"?
That's a tough question. I don't know. I feel like if somebody came to me with something like that, and I feel like I had the expertise to do whatever they were asking me to do, I feel like I would just go do it on my own.
Here's a question for you. Even if you didn't have the expertise, do you have the belief in yourself that you would be able to do it?
Yeah, I can figure out anything. So
I was going to say the reason I ask is I remember when one of the times when I was in college, before the number of times that I dropped out of college, um, I was at a small campus of Indiana University of Pennsylvania. Now, you know, first of all, you don't think of Indiana University being in Pennsylvania, but there's a town called Indiana, Pennsylvania, which just happens to be the hometown where Jimmy Stewart was born. Okay. And it's also the Christmas tree capital of the world. That's its two claims to fame. And Indiana University of Pennsylvania had two branch campuses, one in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, and one in Katanning, Pennsylvania. And it was the only school that accepted me, and I had a choice. I could either go to Punxsutawney or I could go to Katanning, and I went to Katanning. And while I was there, we decided that we should have our own student newspaper for our campus. And similar to you, I just felt like, hey, I didn't know anything about being an editor of a newspaper or putting one together. But I said, I bet we can do this. I bet I can do this. And I did it. I didn't do it well, but I did it. And I get the sense that you have that same belief in your abilities when if somebody ever say to you, well, do you think you could do it? I'm just betting that you're always betting on yourself that you think you can.
yeah, and even with this YouTube thing, I mean, I still feel like I'm learning stuff and still new at. I mean, we're not even a year into making these videos or whatever, but I mean, I could teach a class now on editing and Photoshop, and I didn't even know how. I've never edited anything before this YouTube channel. I've never done anything with any kind of photo edit, whatever. And I figured out how to do it. You just figure out. I mean, if you want to do it, you just got to figure it out. So I'm not afraid to fail at stuff, and this is something that me and my wife talk a lot about because she's very research driven, she's very detail driven. She wants to know most of the information before she actually makes a decision on something, and I'm the opposite way where I want almost none of the information. I just want to go ahead and do it because by the time that I figure out the information, I've already messed up on whatever I'm trying to do 3 or 4 times and can learn along the way. And that's how I like to really operate. And it gets me in trouble a lot, but I get the ball moving. I'm a doer.
What speaking along those lines, not you're not afraid to fail at something to learn from it.
Right.
Thinking back in the 12 years that you've had your used car store, uh, what would you say the biggest failure was
Oh
during
my
that time
goodness.
frame? Sorry, I
I
didn't mean to do that to you, but
No, that's absolutely fine. I won't pin it down on one particular failure being the uh my worst because I don't really want to talk too much about that one particular thing. But I'll say I'll throw in the basket. You'll understand what I'm saying.
yeah,
Is hiring and firing.
yeah.
That's around people, employees. That's been one of my greatest failures. And two, anyone that I've had, I think one employee at this point that's actually been younger than me, and
Uh-huh.
that's my cousin, and he's basically the same age as me. But it's been very difficult because everyone that's worked for me for the most part, actually, I think there's been two now. For the most part, has been older than me, so it's difficult for you to have a manager, a boss, that is much younger. It's got to be that from the employee standpoint. I would assume, especially when I'm a 20 something year old, that's calling the shots, right? So that's one thing that I've really struggled with through my career is actually putting the right people in the right places on the bus to get things moving forward because we've grown so quickly that a lot of the times it was out of desperation that we would have to hire, and we just wanted a warm body to fill this role, and you can't do that. And that's one thing I've definitely learned, and I'm thankful that we've been able to mess up, but we've been able to actually figure a lot of that out. And now we have a rock star team. I literally can go do this YouTube stuff and step away from the shop as much as I have now because our team is so good, and they literally run my business for me. So I can do stuff like this.
And along those lines, I think one of the hardest lessons for me to learn was not just hiring a warm body out of desperation, uh, because when we did that, that was usually a huge mistake, and it created other problems, unintended consequences, and
Yeah.
we were better off. It took me a long time to realize that oftentimes you're better off running shorthanded than bringing on the wrong people. So rather than be desperate when you go to hire somebody, be selective and don't just settle for somebody because you feel like you have to settle. Settle when you found the right person. You're better off. And
Yeah, a bad hire can pull your whole team down.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And another thing that I'd like to talk about a little bit in this aspect is you have to be. It sounds harsh, but you have to be quick to fire someone. It's it's uh, it's actually more kind to the person that you're dealing with to not keep them in a place that one they're probably miserable in, and two that you have expectations that are so low for them because they've already built this history with you that it's almost impossible for them to dig themselves out. And it's really just better for them to go find somewhere where they can be happy. They can perform at their highest potential. And if you're keeping them in a role that they don't fit, then that's not the kind of that's not what you want to do as a leader. Is keeping someone basically in prison.
There have been times where I have let somebody go, and I struggled to let them go because I, I'm compassionate enough that I want to give them as much
Right.
rope as I can, and as much opportunity as I can. And there have been any number of times where when I let some people go, they actually thanked me for finally pulling the plug. They weren't going to do it on their own, and they were hoping that I would finally do it. And so, to your point, if the fit's not right, and you know it's not right, and you know your employee knows it's not right, it's not fair to either you or your employee to allow them to languish in the position that they're in. You're much better off getting rid of them.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I mean, your team will thank you for. I had almost everyone on my team after I let someone go that absolutely did not need to be there come up to me and say, "Look, I know this was hard. Thank you for doing it. We are so much better off because they're not here."
Is is that the hardest part for you, being the boss?
Yeah, because I can't put that on anybody else. I have an office manager, and he runs. I mean, he has difficult conversations with people when they need to happen. He does a lot with the hiring now, but I can't put that job on him. Like that comes down to me. Something like that has to happen, and hopefully I won't have to have that conversation for a very, very long time. Nothing will come up. But if there were to be a situation in the near future, even though I'm not in the shop a lot
Mhm.
at all, and he's dealing with all these employee conversations now, it's still going to come down to me. That's not something that I'm going to put in his hands because I know I've been there now. I know how hard that is and how difficult it is, and I wouldn't want to give that responsibility to anyone else.
It is. I don't. I don't think a lot of people who haven't been in the positions where they have to hire and fire to make those life changing decisions regarding somebody. If you've never been in that position, they have no idea emotionally how hard, the toll it takes on the person that has to let someone go.
Right.
Um, because let's face it, you've never hired somebody with the thought when you hired them, geez, I hope they don't work out.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
yeah, everyone you've hired, and you thought to yourself, they're going to be here forever. And when it turns out they can't be, and you have to do something about that, that is emotionally draining.
And especially in a small business. I mean, we've had our team over the last probably 4 or 5 years, we've ranged anywhere from five and well, seven team members, including me and my wife, to I think we had like 12 at our highest time. And you're small, you're working around these people every single day, you're building relationships with these people every single day. They become family. Like
Yes.
yeah, I've we've got one team member right now that, I mean, he comes to our Thanksgiving and Christmas at my family. So we it's family, even though they're not related. I mean, we're spending so much time together, and as you build these relationships, um it becomes so hard to say, you know what, you've been here for this amount of time, but it's not working out. And I can't think of a time where I've had to let somebody go that there wasn't like heavy emotional feelings, like in
Yeah.
tears making this decision before. I mean, even if I knew 100%, okay, this has to happen, it hurts every time.
It hurts because you're impacting somebody else's ability to make a living.
Yeah.
And in a lot of cases, it's not just that individual. It's that individual and his girlfriend or boyfriend or family or wife, whatever it is. So, the impact is beyond just that person that you're letting go. It's really it's a responsibility, um, that most entrepreneurs hate. Okay. And most people that are put into that position to have that responsibility hate it. It's the hardest thing you have to do in managing any type of business. Um, let's switch gears a little bit, because I don't want to just talk about firing people and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I'm depressed just talking about it right now.
yeah, you might have to get an early bourbon. Um, do you trust anybody in your organization to go to the sales for you and buy cars, or is that something that always just falls on your shoulders?
Nope. Alex is my mechanic, and he buys most of the cars for us now. There will be a random case now where maybe he can't go to an auction, or he's loaded up on a lot of stuff that we've got to fix, and
Uh-huh.
I'll handle that. But yeah, he's pretty much taking it over, and I would say maybe not knowing the values of the vehicles yet. He's getting there, but as far as knowing what is wrong with the car, what it's going to take for him to fix it, how much time it's going to take, and just about how much money it's going to take to fix. He does that better than me because he's the one actually turning the wrenches on these cars now. So I would 100 out of 100 times right now rather him go check out these cars and buy cars than me. Now, when we get into tax time, we're running about 3 auctions right now. When we get closer to tax time, towards December, beginning of January, we'll run 6 auctions, and he can't
Mhm.
handle all of those. So
No.
I'll hit 3 of them. He'll hit 3 of them, and just so we can get to the amount of cars that we want to have. But he has 100% of my confidence. Now, it took a long time for us to get there, and it took a lot of training for me to show him, okay, this is what we want, this is what we don't want, this is the the cost analysis, going through it, the risk reward of what we want to gamble on, what we don't want to gamble on. That took a long time, but he's absolutely there now, and I would even say I would rather have him buying cars than me myself there.
Okay, so having said that, do you picture in your mind's eye someday perhaps expanding your business, maybe having more than one location?
Nope. I've had 2 lots before,
Okay.
and it was a nightmare. We couldn't keep we so we go the route with our cars is we do volume. We don't make a whole lot per car. I
Mhm.
think our average is between like $1,000 $1,200 a car. So in the grand scheme of thing, we compared to other dealers, we that's nothing.
Yes.
So we have to do volume. And to be able to do volume, we have to keep the lot filled. We have to go to a lot of auctions. And when we had these 2 lots, we had 2 lots literally for 1 month. And we figured out that we could not, we were selling so many cars that we couldn't buy enough. And we're very fortunate to be in a location where there are tons of auctions around. Like, we can hit 7 auctions in 1 week. Even
Wow.
when we were hitting that many auctions in a week, we couldn't keep both lots filled. So what we figured out was smarter. And I credit my wife for this because she saw it and it wasn't obvious to me. But we on in our second location that we got was much bigger than our first location, and turns out we could turn and burn all the cars that we needed just in that one location. So we turned our original location, which I own the property, into just like a holding lot, and getting
Uh-huh.
cars ready. And then when they're ready, we transport them to our current lot that we're at right now. But even that became a problem because they were in 2 different cities, and they were about 20 to 25 minutes away from each other. So we split our team. This was a disaster too. This is
Yeah.
probably one of the worst things I said. I thought it was a great idea at the time. Obviously, terrible idea. But we split our team. We had operations at one location. We had retail sales at the other location. Nightmare. So thankfully, we I sold our first property, and we just moved everything to our current lot. And then the pandemic hit us. So then we didn't have to worry about like overbuying cars, because there weren't any cars for us to buy. So uh, I don't.
So,
I think your original question was, do I ever think about expanding more than I am right now? No.
yes. Okay. Well, I appreciate the fact that you just didn't leave it at a one-word answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I'm
then
I'm I'm content. I'm content with where we are now. We can pump out if we were doing max capacity and we had cars to buy, we could pump probably 100 to 120 cars a month out of our lot, and that's doing crazy amounts of volume, and I don't want to do more than that because then you have to hire a whole fleet of people, and I know I'm young. I'm 35, but I feel like in the business I feel like I'm 55, and I'm tired.
The business does that to you.
Yeah.
Where it wears you out. It's there's a difference between your chronological age and your car age. Um,
Yeah.
and car people age like in dog years.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
it's 3 to 1. It's 3 to 1 for your car age instead of the regular people. Yeah, and that's the thing. I just like going to the auctions now on 98 degree weather on the asphalt and going when it's 30 degrees and pouring rain. I'm tired. I've done it for a long time. I'm tired.
No, I hear you and I get it. So in essence, you're content with where you're at, and if you could grow your business a little more, you'd be fine with that. And if the business kind of stayed where it's at, you're fine with that as well.
Yep. Now, I
And
mean, I have a 5-year-old son too, so I don't want to sacrifice any more time than I need to with him because I mean that's the most important thing in my life, right? Is him and my wife, and time can absolutely be sucked up by more work at the car lot.
the one thing I can attest to for a fact is that the car business tends to take you away from the things that you're it takes you away from the things for why you're really working. You're working to be able to provide for your wife and your son. I was working to be able to provide for my wife and my two children, um, but yet I never got to spend time with any of them. Because I was working 11, 12, 13, 14 hours a day every damn day. And so yeah, I get that. And if I may, I'm going to commend you for at least realizing it early on that your first priority should be your wife and your son. And don't let the car business rob you of that, please.
Right, and that's the fine line that this is something. I mean, I know we can talk about anything on this, so we can get into kind of the psychology behind it. But that's one thing that I greatly struggle with now. I'm trying to grind on YouTube. I'm trying to grind at the car lot because I want to make more money because
Hmm.
money in my mind buys me time later on, and the sacrifice that I'm doing is I'm losing time right now. So what's the point? And I struggle with this so much. To, going after this, putting out 3 videos a week, um, starting a second channel, still making sure that the car lot's operating because this is taking time away from time that I can spend with my son right now. But I'm always like, okay, well, then I can have an easier time when he's a little bit older, and that's going to be more essential to me preparing him to be a man later on, right? So I want to have that time, but it's tough. I don't know what I'm even trying to get at. I struggle with that though.
I'm going to make you an offer. And I hope to God you never have to take me up on it, but I'm going to make you an offer. And the offer is simply this: I missed my family because I worked all the time. If you find that the car business is really keeping you away from your wife and your son to the detriment of your relationships with your wife and your son, call me. I'll come down. I'll help you with the car store. Okay,
Yeah.
because I don't want to see the car industry do to others what it did to me. I know that I had sales managers that I hired and that had young families. And I said, I need to know everything that's going on with your family. Uh, when your daughter has a recital or if your son has a soccer game, whatever it is, I need to know. They go, why? I said, so I can make sure you're there. Okay. I couldn't be there for my kids, but damn it, you're not going to miss it because I'm not going to let you miss it. there has to be a certain priority in your life. And yes, it's important that we make money. Yes, it's important that we be able to provide for those that we love, but it's more important that they actually get to spend the time with you. I'll share a quick story with you, and you know me, I don't tell any quick stories. But my father was a dentist, and then he gave up dentistry to go into the vending machine business, and he worked all the time, all the time. And I don't know, I might have been 19 or 20 years old, and we were having an argument about something. And his response to me, he says, "Well, you've never wanted for anything. I've given you everything you ever wanted or you needed." And I looked at him, I said, "Except for one thing." He said, "What's that?" I said, "Your time. You never gave me you." And I resented the fact that I did the same thing to my kids. I don't want you to do the same thing to yours. So
And
if you
that's
need
what
help, call me.
yeah. And I mean, that's the kind of thing that terrifies me, right? Because your father didn't realize that he was doing that in the moment. You didn't realize you were doing that in the moment. What if I'm not realizing that, okay, I should have all this time to be able to play with my son, give my son this time, and maybe I'm neglecting it because I'm grinding so hard at these two jobs that I have. That worries me. And that's why I struggle with this so much, because I need to be okay with just not putting out as many videos as I'm doing, not and not really just throwing so much time in there. But it's hard. It's hard not to want to work. I've always worked. It's hard.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not like sometimes. Me and my wife talked about this just a few days ago. Um, she was like, "Okay, we'll go do something, chill out, go sit in your chair, watch some TV." I said, "Well, if I'm at home, I need to be productive. I need to be doing something. I can't just. I don't want to just chill out. So I got to get to where it's a mindset where I can be happy not being productive."
Sometimes you're more productive when you actually not being productive. Um, I'm going to make you a second offer.
Okay.
Check in with me once a week, and I'm going to ask you how your time management's going with your family, and I'm going to remind you to cut back on whatever it is that you're doing to spend more time there.
I'm gonna call you. We're gonna have a weekly call now.
I'm dead
Yeah,
serious.
me too.
What do I have to do? I've got 5 daily shows to do with Zach at noon, Monday through Friday. I've got the electric show to do at 12:45. I do some of these interviews every week, and on Sundays, Zach and I film 3 videos. Okay, I've got time, baby. I didn't have time 20 years ago.
Well, I'm gonna start adding. I'm gonna start adding you in on my schedule. You want to get a video on my channel every week too.
Well, perhaps. but I'm dead serious. Just check in with me once a week, and I'll say to you, Brandon, how much time did you spend with your son this week?
No,
What did you do that
we'll
was
do it.
special?
Definitely. I appreciate that, Ray. Yeah.
Yeah, I know what the car business can do to families because I watched it do it to mine, and so I don't want to see it do it to yours. What do you see? I'm going to ask you a question, and
Okay.
and and this one is car related, even though you hardly go to the sales anymore,
Yeah.
because you're so busy filming your videos and everything else. Um, where do you see the market going? I mean, you don't have to deal with interest rates as much as many dealers do because of the type of operation you run, but where do you see the industry going as far as what's happening with interest rates and used cars right now?
Well, I can tell you what's happening right now, and people are not listening to us because uh, we are selling the crap out of cars right now. And I think what's because we're selling so many cars when we get them out, is showing that the market is actually not in a good place, and
Uh-huh.
that seems counterintuitive, right? Because we're selling cars, so people are buying them. That should mean the market's good. No, so when we do better, it's because the economic situations of most people are deteriorating because the cars that I sell are $5,000 and under.
Yes.
So when the economy is great, we're great. When the economy is bad, we're better. Like we do better in a downturn.
Hmm.
Um, because we are able to start buying cars a little bit cheaper at auctions, and then like I was telling you, we don't. I mean, we know exactly how much we're going to make on a car, so we'll make $1,000, $1,200. So it doesn't matter what kind of deal we get at the auction, we pass that deal on to our customers, right? So we're able to mark cars down way cheaper than any other dealers. But seeing what's going on at the auctions right now, repos spiking. We've talked about this, beating a dead horse. The economy is getting worse, and these strikes that are going through the UAW, that's really the X factor as far as where the car market's going to go if they stay on strike for month, 2 months. It's going to greatly increase prices, I think, across the board. But if it ends soon, I think prices will actually start tanking. Um, so it's really, I feel like, just the X factor of the strikes, because demand's not there. There's no demand. People are not buying cars, so the new cars will start going down once the strikes stop. And we're already seeing it in the wholesale data still too. Even though there's a scare in the car market, usually car dealers are reactionary. You know that, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
so if they're scared, which the ones that I've talked to that buy this kind of stuff, they are scared, and they're seeing that prices are going up a little bit on their stuff. But there should be this mass rush to these auctions to buy this, and we're not seeing that in the wholesale data. And that's what's interesting to me, because I would have guessed, you told me that 2 months ago that this strike was going to last as long as it has already. I would say, well, you're going to be able to pull up the wholesale chart, and there's going to be this straight up, because dealers are going to get scared, and
Hmm.
they're going to start loading up because they feel like they're not going to be able to replace inventory. And that's not happening. So dealers are tapped out right now, I
And,
think.
and and I think the reason it's not happening is the type of strike that we're seeing from the UAW, where they didn't pick just one manufacturer to shut down all the plants at one manufacturer. They selected all three manufacturers, and they've shut down a plant here, a plant there, so that it really hasn't had a major impact on any of them yet.
Yeah, but
Um,
but you're using logic here. So dealers don't right, they don't use logic. They say, okay, strikes happening, plants closing down, not gonna get inventory. We got to rush the auction and get inventory. The dealers that I've talked to, they're scared. And when you throw this psychology into the market, prices should spike if these dealers are able to actually buy more cars. So the market is showing us that these dealers, they're not able to buy more cars.
it's an unusual time. I want to dig deep into your brain for a moment.
Okay.
Um, Anytime you buy a car, it's a crapshoot. When I ran new car franchises, anytime we traded a car, it was a crapshoot. We didn't know what we were trading. I mean, we appraised it, we drove it, we listened to it, but I didn't know if it had sawdust in the automatic transmission. To quiet it down, to make it feel like it shifted properly. I mean, you never really knew what you were buying. So every car is a crapshoot. I am sure that there have been times that you've gone to the sale and you have bought something, and you said to yourself, "We're going to make X on it."
Hmm.
And then you get it home, and what you thought you bought and what you bought were two dramatically different things.
Yeah, and sometimes it doesn't even make it home.
Yeah. So the question's going to be, what's the worst car you ever bought? And what was the worst beating you took when you bought that car?
So it's the worst car that I ever bought. It was completely my fault. It wasn't even the situation that you're talking about where you think it's a good car and then you get it home and it's not something. I actually bought that you didn't think what you didn't know what you're actually buying when I was actually raising my hand. So cars go through on this side. I'm sitting on this side, auctioneers on the other side, right? So car will drive through this way. I see one side of the car, right? There's this
Sure.
Tahoe that's coming through the lane and looks great, right? Um, and it was going for really cheap. It's not one I even checked out, but it was going through the lane. It was bringing no money. I was like, okay, well, I'll buy it because nobody else wants to buy it. I don't care if it needs a motor or whatever. I can still make money on this car. So buy it. Go out, I already paid for it. Go out to the lot, and I walk around to the other side of the car. It
Yeah.
is completely smashed in. If I'm not mistaken, it was even like missing a door.
Oh my God.
It was the absolute worst buy I've ever had. And it's just because I didn't even walk around the car. And I hate to say this, but that's not the only time that I've done something like that. There was actually this within this last year, there was a Mazda I bought, and the whole front side of it was smashed in. And me and Alex, we walked out to the car, and I didn't see it until we got it back to the actual car lot because we had it transported. And me and him just, it was kind of like a Seinfeld moment because we
Yeah.
were just standing there looking at this smash on the car and not saying anything and just staring at it. Yeah. And then I think he finally said something like, "Did you even look at it?" So
I didn't, because
yeah.
if I had, I wouldn't have raised my hand.
Right, right. So
Yeah,
he gives me a hard time when I do buy cars now because I'm usually buying something that I didn't check
yeah.
out. So
If I hear you correctly, that Tahoe, all you saw was the Hollywood side. Um,
yeah.
you saw the good side. You just didn't see the other side.
Yeah,
It's not
but
bad.
when you make mistakes like that, so this is another thing that we talked about very early in this show, right? I'm not scared to mess up because even something like that, I actually was able to um, figure out how to get rid of stuff like that, and it led me to a great contact where now when I had some trash or junk that I couldn't sell, I knew I had an outlet for it at that
Mhm.
point. So I'm actually thankful that that happened. One, for the story's good, but
Yeah.
two, I was able to learn from it and be able to um, turn it into something good because we found that contact, and we were able to sell some of our junk too.
What's the biggest loss you've ever taken on a car?
It's hard to know specifically, but on cars that we were going to resell, probably somewhere around like $3,500, I would guess, because we don't buy really expensive cars. So
I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's probably a case where we bought something for right at $3,500 and put a little work into it, and either motor or transmission drops out of it or both, and it's just not worth fixing because the time we put another $2,500 into the car, it might only be worth $3,000. It's probably
Sure.
somewhere right around after tax time, and we'll end up just scrapping it. So that car we had $3,700 in, we would only get like $200 out of it. So
Stuff happens. I
yeah,
mean, people, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand about the car business is just because you have a car for sale doesn't mean you're going to be able to sell it.
right,
I took a hiatus from the car business when I had a Golf USA franchise in Mesa, Arizona. And one of the first things I learned rather quickly was, just because I unlocked the door at 9 o'clock in the morning didn't mean anybody had to walk through it that day. It just meant it was unlocked. That's all it meant. And so people don't realize that there is a tremendous amount of risk anytime someone opens up any type of retail business, whether it be a retail car lot like yours or a retail storefront like a Golf USA franchise. There's no guarantee that it's going to work.
yeah. I hear you talk about that business a lot. What so in your opinion, what made that business not work?
My Golf USA franchise,
Yeah.
what made it not work is the concept from the people that sold me the franchise was, we were going to have a pro shop like atmosphere, but with discounted prices. Yet I was paying like really retail rent for my space.
All right.
So it was very difficult to have a big enough profit margin to be in business. And then the thing that I found most unnerving about it is in order to be competitive with other pro shops that were out there, discount pro shops, and at that time there were two big ones in the Phoenix area. One was called Vans, which was a local company, and they had 9 or 10 locations. The other was called Nevada Bob's, and they had 7 or 8 locations. And the margins that everybody worked on, for instance, if if there was a metal wood that we sold for $99 and it cost me $75, you'd say, well, you're making 25, but it's not a big enough margin.
Right. You got to do so
Okay.
much volume.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so there was that aspect that kind of threw me off a little bit. And then the other was Spalding was big in golf at that time. And my Spalding rep said, our 15 ball pack sells really, really well. That's going to be a big seller for you, Ray. I go, well, how much are they? He goes, they're $15.99. I go, well, 15 balls, yeah, I can sell it for like $19.99. I can make $4. He goes, oh, no, 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 no. What we have found is the price point that it sells best at is $14.99. I go, well, where's that? Because well, it's a price leader. You'll bring people into the store to buy other stuff that you're making a margin on. And I thought to myself, there's too many things like that in this store. So yeah, that was. And the other thing that killed me in the part of Mesa, Arizona that I was located was a big area for Canadian snowbirds. Well, when the Canadian dollar was strong, then they could afford to buy my goods. When the Canadian dollar was weak, they wouldn't buy my stuff for anything because it was just they were paying a premium at that point. So my business was really predicated on exchange rates between the U.S. dollar and the Canadian dollar. So I learned my lesson. What I learned was that I could take this really good idea and go bankrupt within 5 years. That's what I learned, and I learned how to experience levels of poverty I didn't know existed, and how to bounce back from that. And that's what I did. It was I lost personally over $400,000.
That hurts.
Okay. Yeah,
That hurts.
you tell me. Yeah, that really hurts.
Ooh.
And I thought to myself, I can either feel really bad about this and not go back to work and just kind of mope around because I lost all this money, or I chose to look at it as if that was my tuition for my college education that I never got.
Yeah.
And I went back. I mean, literally, I closed the store. I settled up with my landlord, and I started the very next day, as a closer at a Mazda Volkswagen store. I gave myself about 8 or 10 hours to mourn the loss of my money, the loss of my self-image and my self-worth. And I went from making nothing. I was so excited because that job guaranteed me $42,500 a year. So when you go from making nothing to, look, honey, I'm making 42.5 base.
You're rich. You're rich.
I felt like I was on top of the world. That's not an experience I would wish on anybody. But
I bet you learn more about business in that time, failing through what you did than you can learn in any kind of business class.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the worst part about it, Brandon, was the best day I ever had sales wise was the first day of my going out of business sale. That was the biggest day I ever had in the store. And had I known that was going to be the case, I would have done it on day one.
Yeah, you should have just went out of business for 4 years.
I would have been much better off if I just did that on day one.
That's what we need to do. We need to put a banner in the front of my dealership just saying going out of business, and just leave it up. And people ask us when we're going out of business. Well, we're not really
Eventually,
sure, but we know eventually we're going to go out of
yeah,
business.
we're definitely going out of business, just not anytime soon.
Right.
Yeah. If you were to ever get out of the car business, and I know, YouTube has an appeal. Social media, as we know it, as you and I participate in it, kind of has an appeal. But if you were to get out of the car business, what do you think you would pursue beyond what you've done so far? Dig deep, Brandon. Dig deep on this
So
one.
are we throwing out the YouTube aspect of this?
You can talk about the YouTube aspect, but I just get the sense that you're not going to be really content being a YouTube sensation.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I could ever get to the point where I don't even know what you would consider a YouTube sensation, but that's way above our niche, I would assume. But what I would do, if I had to close my doors tomorrow, I would continue this YouTube thing and make it my full time gig all the time. But let's I think that's too easy of an answer. So let's throw the YouTube thing out. Yeah, my wife and I, we've actually talked about this a lot, and we would go start some other business. We would. I'm not sure where we would go. Maybe commercial real estate towards that aspect. I used to trade stocks a lot, so I would probably go back towards that. But just I don't know what the thing would be, but I know we would not get regular people jobs. I know that we after doing what we've done, we would go start our own thing. We know how to start a business. We know how to get the right people in the right places. We know how to make money. Making money is would be pretty easy for us in just about any other place. Just because of the experience that me and my wife have building the things that we've already built. So it would just some kind of business. So I have no clue what it would be, but that's what we would do.
Okay. So Brandon's car lot's done. You're into some other type of business and you've made that successful. And now you kick back a little bit and you look around and you say, I think it's time for the family to go on a vacation. Just maybe take a 10-day, 2-week break from all the nonsense from all these years. Where are you going?
Well, I can tell you that we have not been on a vacation in 6 years.
Okay.
That's how hard we've worked over the last 6 years. Where I would go though now, we used to like to go on cruises. I love going on cruises. So that's we would. I don't care where it would be. I just want to be on a boat in the middle of the ocean, sipping a drink and eating some shrimp cocktail. That's what I want to do. I don't even care. Take me to the middle of the ocean and let me sit there for 10 days. That's what I want.
Okay. Well, that seems like such an easy vacation.
I know, but it's time. I don't have the time.
You do have the time.
Video's got to come out. Video's got to come out, Ray. It's always got to come out.
You know what I found out? Like when Zach and I went to Detroit, you can do the videos when you're in Detroit. You can do the videos on the boat. You can interview people who were on the boat and say, "Yeah, but what about your used car? When you consider a used car, whose lot did you look at?" I mean, you can find ways to do videos, and I'm pretty sure they got internet on those damn boats.
Yeah, but then I gotta edit the thing. I gotta, you know what would make my life so much easier? I need to hire an editor. And how do you do that? How do you find an editor?
Well, ask Zach. He found James. And
yeah, I tried to take James from Zach, and he didn't like that. So
you can't have James, and you can't have our Brandon. I mean, how do you? I don't know, but we found some good people. They're out there. I am sure you get as many unwanted, unsolicited emails as I get from people you never heard of who have the perfect surface to do whatever it is that you need. just respond to one of those emails instead of, I don't know, deleting them.
I'll tell you, I actually had I've had multiple, but there was one guy that was really good at it. He actually sent me an email, and he had already edited one of the videos that I've already done. It made it look
Um,
great. So maybe I can hit him up again, but I'm scared to give it away to somebody else. I don't know if that makes sense at all.
no, I
Um,
hear you.
yeah,
You're afraid that if you give up control, then you're no longer in control. But
exactly.
but when you learn how to give up control, you really are in control. And you could do it, but I want to get back to, would you go on, what kind of music do you like?
I like all kinds of music. Probably if I had to pick one genre for the rest of my life, nail me down to it, it's probably rock.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
They have any of those rock and roll cruises? I know there's jazz cruises. I get emails for those. Well, do you gamble? Do you like to play cards?
I love to gamble. That's one of the big reasons. Like when me and my wife would go on a cruise, that's really why we would go on a cruise. We love to play craps. Craps is
Okay.
so much fun.
You know, yeah, just between you and me, they've got cities like Las Vegas, Reno, Atlantic, all over the country. They got places that call them casinos.
We used to go to Harris, that's in the mountains of North Carolina, a lot.
Okay.
And then, I mean, we could go for 2 days. It's just, it's we just don't do it. We got to work. We got to work. We got to get stuff done. Because my wife works just as hard, if not harder, than I do. Because she's running more of our business now because I'm doing this stuff, right? So a lot of the like tracking for money, looking at inventory, being able to know what we're selling, when we're selling it, how long it's taking us to sell it. She's keeping up with that stuff now more than I am. So this YouTube thing has given her more of a job than she had before I started doing it. So it's tough.
One last question. Are you glad you got into the YouTube side of things?
I am. I am. We have to figure out how to balance it with our life, and we don't have that down yet. So once I get to the point where I can balance it, I think I will absolutely love doing it because I get to do stuff like this, and this is what keeps me making these videos week in week out. That I can do this, that I can go on live streams, I can answer people's questions, I can actually help people out with navigating the car market. I can give them advice on buying a car, not getting screwed by these shady dealers. That's the kind of stuff that pushes me to continue to do these videos. Um, but I have to find that balance, and I don't have it yet.
You'll get there.
Yeah,
I have great faith in you. You'll get there. Um, can I thank you for doing this? I don't know if,
absolutely.
yeah, I don't know if you realize, but we killed close to an hour.
Yeah, it felt like no time at all. This, like I said, this is my favorite thing to do. Thank you so much for letting me just come talk to you. And we need to have discussions like this all the time.
And I am, my two offers. I'm dead serious. If you need help so that you can get away and do things, and you need a little help at the store, I might rescind that offer. But
Yeah, we got coverage there.
yeah,
We're
yeah.
okay there.
But
I
the
need to just
other one,
come drop my son off at Grandpa Ray's house, and then me and my wife can go. What's near you, Atlantic City?
yeah, you could go. You could go to Harris here in Atlantic City or the
Yeah,
Borgata. You know, but my other offer, and the one I'm dead serious about, is I want you to check in with me once a week, a phone call once a week, just so I can say to you how much time you've been spending with your family. And because I don't want you to miss all the things that I missed. There's no good reason to do it. You'll be able to justify it, or you'll do your best to justify it when you've missed things, but there really will have been no good reason to miss them. So I don't want you to miss those times. You check in with me, damn it.
absolutely. And I want you to stay on top of me about that too, because
I,
I do not want to mess that up.
I don't want you to. Brandon, thank you ever so much for being a part of this. And we're going to do it again, I can assure you.
Thank you so much for having me. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel right here. Hit the subscribe button and whatever else you need to plug. Do
Well,
it.
you subscribe. Just subscribe to Brandon's channel.
Subscribe to
Questions
everything.
answered. Okay, he's the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again, Brandon, and we'll talk soon. I promise.
All right. Thanks, Ray.
Yep. Bye bye.